What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Big Oxuchia, and I'm back here with another video. Before we get started, I don't even want to ask you to do the things that I know I'm supposed to do. I want to start this video by saying this. I waited 4 days. And the reason why I waited 4 days is because I wanted to see if anyone in the black manosphere had the balls to speak up and speak out against this woman who calls herself Pearly Things. Just Pearly Things. Now, some of you may have heard of Just Pearly Things from her channel. And, you got people like Melanie King, the lead authority, a lawyer who, honestly, a lot of people listen to. I've watched the lead authority because he has had some really good videos on some things that has helped me. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I've never watched this channel. I've watched the lead authority, and I've watched Just Pearly Things a couple of times. Not gonna lie, I have. And when I started watching her, I was sitting there thinking to myself, man, it's kind of crazy that this white woman, found herself in a very, very black space, and I always found it to be really weird that you had all of these black people sitting on this white platform talking about black issues, and I always felt like it was something wrong with that, right? I felt like that there was something uncomfortable about that. Now, I look at people like Jason Black. Now, let me start here. I'm not a Jason Black fan by no stretch of the imagination. Okay? Jason Black is not a fan of black Christians. In fact, he speaks more against black Christians than anyone I know. Right? He does not like black preachers. Doesn't matter the ones that do good, that he knows nothing about. It doesn't matter how much good some black preachers do in the community. He is not a fan of black preachers. He calls us pulpit pimps. And then says the ones that aren't the pimps aren't really helping the community, when a lot of the resources that come to the community come from the church. But that's a conversation for another day, because I don't want to get off of this topic, because see, there are times where I have to look at things myself, because I'm a very objective person. I always tell people I'm not your Republican, I'm not your Democrat, I'm just me, right? A black man in America that's trying to live every day and figure this thing out, right? So when I speak, I'm not speaking as a fan of either side, because I see wrong in the black manosphere, and I see a lot of wrong in the gatekeeping that comes from the other side, calling people coons, all that stuff. I'm not a fan of none of that. So when I say, Just Pearly Things, in the words of Bill Burr, reached her stiletto boot across the fence of oppression, she really did put her boot across the fence of oppression and put herself in the middle of a conversation, and for a very long time control the narrative that is the gender war that's happening between black Americans. Okay, because whether you like it or not, there is a gender war. You got to be kind of like blind not to see it. Some people say Kevin Samuels is the one who created the gender war with the average at best video. But I'm going to go so far as to say, you got the Sansa Rays out there and the, what's that, Tasha K's out there that say what she got to say. There's always been this yelling back and forth between people, on the who starts the gender war, who is more important, who is more needed. And I personally have always sat in the middle. I've always felt like what Kevin Samuels was saying, some things, although true, was still a very oversimplification of a much bigger issue. Now, what things did I find true about what Kevin Samuels had to say? Black men being 54%, single and not have the data. You can't lie about the data. The data is there. That's not a lie. Some women being delusional. That is not a lie. But are all black women delusional? No, not all black women are delusional. Are all black men good? No, not all black men are good. So let's get all of that on the table, right? But he highlighted, a very big issue. And he talked for a lot of young men who felt disenfranchised and didn't have the ability to articulate themselves in a way that shows what they were really feeling. That, the average man right now is dying single and alone. And this ain't something new, right? If you remember, I believe it was 5 years ago, Dateline put out a whole expose on how educated the black woman was becoming and how black men were not living next to them when it comes down to, education. And that education requires them to ask for different things, but the problem is the average man, black man, does not make but a certain amount of money. And the word average now, the word average, just normal, average, those words have become trigger words for people. Not just on the male side, but on the female side. It has become trigger words that says, hey, I'm not good enough for X issue. So you got black people out here saying to other black people, you're not good enough. When economically, it doesn't matter what side you land on the fence. None of us is making enough money as a community, educated or not. As a community, our money-wise, we ain't doing it all the way. Now, you could say, oh, well, they're putting it into the black church. Well, guess what? Black people ain't going to church as much as they used to. They're not. The congregations in the black in the black church are going down, and that is even in the mega churches. We ain't going by the highest of numbers as we used to. So that means that the money is being put somewhere else. It ain't being put in the church. I can tell you that. You got people out here now that do inspirational speaking. They admit that they're not Christians. They're inspirational speakers. They're relationship gurus. And I believe Kevin Samuel opened up a floodgate of people who were going to start talking like that they were the relationship gurus and they were the people who had the right thing to say. And everybody was putting their cup of tea in. And if you look at it, even the ones who are giving a very educated explanation on how things are going aren't really capable of really diving deeper into the issues. They're able to bring the issue to the surface, but they're not giving realistic conversations. They're not giving realistic solution-based conversations as to how we overcome these relationship issues, right? And if you look on the other side, economically, it's not translating whether we're together or we're apart, right? So we got so many single family homes right now. That's just the truth. There's no data there. The data shows it. You don't need the data, but you can kind of just go down your street. How many families do you see? I mean, real, actual families. You might see one or two on the block, if you see that. But the unification of the two is coming together slowly. But let's be honest, it's not. Let's be real with ourselves. Let's be rational with ourselves. You can't lie and say that we're doing it the right way, the Kevin Samuels way either. That ain't been good at all. All this has done is brought a what? A division between our people. It's just highlighted it. Now, what has that got to do with Miss Pearly Things? Well, Miss Pearly Things, just Pearly Things. What has that got to do with her? Well, if you look at things, she took that information that she was hearing from Kevin Samuels of the world, and she took that data and started using that data as a means to make money. Now, me as a person who loves capitalism, and I do, I'm going to be real with you. I understand why she did it, because she could. And here's the thing. She came into the community. She took advantage of her opportunity to be able to use these statistics as a means to make money. She's touts off these statistics every single solitary video. She touts them off. Even if the conversation ain't about it, she will find people that fits a specific mold so that she can be able to say, these are the statistics. These are the statistics, but this is what the data says. But this is what the data says. But this is what the data says. And she says these things without even giving any type of remorse as to how she say it. She doesn't care about how you feel, because this is how the data reads. And honestly, when you're giving out truth, that's exactly how you have to do it. You have to just tell the truth. If it's really the truth, well, then you don't have to fiddle around with it, right? There's no dirty ground. There's no muddy water. It's just the truth. It is what it is. You don't like it, so what? It's the truth. But when you look at this Just Pearly Things person, you have to see what she's doing. So here I am on the internet, watching different channels, and I come across a video from The Business. Now, I don't know who The Business is. I'm going to be honest. I had no idea that it was Jason Black. I stopped listening to his videos a long time ago, strictly because he doesn't like black Christians. And yes, just for that reason. I mean, someone continuously coming at you for how you choose to believe is not somebody that you want to come to for information. Just that simple. Nothing disrespects a person more than coming after their faith. And then telling me that I'm a coon because I choose to believe what I believe. Instead of uniting us and with the voice that he has, which is amazing, he chooses to take shots at the black community. You don't think, what was it, 74% of people who have in this country, we're still about 74% Christian. I think they say most black people have some form of idea of God, even if it's not Christianity specifically. And so if you're messing on 54 to 85% of the population, well, don't you think that they will stop listening to you if you keep coming for them? Sure. I mean, why argue with a person who doesn't like you? If you don't want me around, hey, I'm a person. I have no problem with walking away from you. I have self-esteem. I like myself. I don't have a problem with walking away from a person who doesn't care for me. I just listen to what you have to say when you have something good to talk about, right? And just so happened it was him, The Business. And when I looked, Boom. Who was there? After he took his normal shots at Christians like he normally does, what's the first thing that he does? He starts telling the truth. And he shows me a video from Pearly Things on a white supremacist channel who clearly doesn't like African Americans, black people, foundational black Americans, excuse me. Because I forgot I don't use the words African American no more. Shout out to Tariq Nasheed, the foundational black American thing. I totally agree with it. God bless you, brother. That was a good thing you did. The Black Museum, I want to go to it. The new one that he did for the foundational black museum. I am going to go to that in LA or Atlanta, wherever it is. I'm going to go, brother. I'm going to come to that because I think that is an awesome idea. And I'm proud of him for making it because he said he was going to do it. And he did it, so God bless you for it, bro. So that being said, I respect, when my people do things for the foundational black American. And I look at this video, and here she is, Miss Pearly Things. Excuse me, getting back on topic. Miss Pearly Things. She went on talking about how black Americans are basically lazy compared to Africans. Like, we care what you think. Going to these, channels and talking about how she, if you watch the video, I'm just going to leave it in the description. You can watch it for yourself. I'm not going to tout out all the things that she said. You saw the video. And if you haven't seen the video, go watch the video. My point is this. She did say all the things that she said. It was completely racist. It was wrong. And if you're still subscribing to Miss Pearly Things, something wrong with you, my friend. You need to do me a favor. Go to Miss Pearly Things right now. Unsubscribe. If there's a video with your comment in it, fine. You had the idea. You watched it. You enjoyed her content. You sold what you sure did. Well, today's a new day. Don't watch her content from this point on. From this point on, if you are a black American and you are foundational black American and you know this country and you know the atrocities that happened in this country to our ancestors, whether you like it or not, I don't care if it was 1,000 years ago, 2 days ago, 15 seconds ago. I don't care. It was an atrocity that happened to our people and it was wrong. Period. Slavery was terrible. There's no way around that. And anybody that thinks that was a good thing or says that it was just a minimalized issue, it wasn't as big of an issue. Yeah, I guess it wasn't for your white self. Sure. It wasn't an issue for you. Yeah. It didn't affect your community at all. Of course not. You were benefiting from it. Oh, slavery was just, just something that happened. It wasn't that big of a deal. No, not a big deal to your family because, your family wasn't whiplashed and called less than human. No, that wasn't your people. Your people wasn't hung from trees. No, that wasn't your people. And I don't care how much you say this, my conservative brothers and sisters, because I love you all. I don't care how much you say it to yourself or try to convince yourself otherwise. Half of the problems that we have in this country today is a residual effect of the white society that enslaved our people. You can't say that didn't have a lasting effect on our people. It has. It has. You can't say with a straight face that black people having the gender war that we're having right now isn't steps being made because of pain that comes from the trauma of victimization that happened to our people over the course of the past 200 years. I'm sorry to tell you this, my conservative brothers and sisters. If you look a little bit further back into your bloodline, if you're from foundational black American, if you just look back just 2 generations, you're going to find a slave there. A freed slave, but a slave nonetheless. That's right. Just go back 2 generations. That's just, your grandma's mother. That's 2 generations. Oh, you don't believe me? Look at it like this. The 60s wasn't that long ago. Civil rights movement wasn't that long ago. Let's look back. Civil rights movement wasn't that long ago. What was that? 80 years? 60 years? 50 years? Something like that. Think about it like this. Martin Luther King and them generation is just now getting to their 80s and their late 70s. Think about that. The Jesse Jacksons of the world, all of them are just now getting to what? Let's look up how old Jesse Jackson is. Let's do this. Let's look it up. How old is Jesse Jackson? I'm going to tell y'all right now. How old is Jesse Jackson? How old is Jesse Jackson? Jesse Jackson is 81 years old, still here. Louis Farrakhan is 89 years old. Al Sharpton is 68 years old. So this is a generation of people who was around when Martin and Malcolm was alive. They're still here. If I remember correctly, civil rights activism, if we look back, that was the 60s. That wasn't too far back. Our parents was born during that time period. For millennials, for early millennials, a lot of our parents was born in the 50s and the 60s. That was during the time of civil rights. Go back one more generation. Go back. One more. Look right there. That's the grandparents. That's your great grandparents. Yeah. Some of them. They was born during the time of slavery. Yeah. Didn't think about that, did you? Some of them was born at the time. If not, some of them was around during the time. Okay? Think about it like this. 1865 ain't that long ago. Y'all acting like 1865. It's like, 500 years ago. Y'all acting like that was a millennia ago. 1865 ain't that long ago. That's just the way it is. If you think about it, that's only, 158 years? So slavery ain't been over that long, y'all. It ain't been over that long. So when we say the residual effects of slavery, look, think about it like this. Let's take it to a smaller level. Let's take it to a you and me today level, away from slavery and everything. Let's just take it to your body today. Get a cold, just a regular cold, right? A regular cold can put you down for a week. And if it's bad enough, a regular cold can have residual effects days after the time when you're no longer sick. You can still be getting a cough. You can still have mucus. You can still have a sniffle. You can still be draining out because you're still experiencing. Hello, somebody. You're still experiencing the effects of a cold. You can have the VIDI. I don't want to say the word. You can have the VIDI, right? And you catch that mug. And 19 will have you on your back for days. But you can still I have right now what they call onset asthma. I have asthma now because of cold, of the cold. I still have it's still affecting my body today. Based upon what? What happened a long time ago, right? So you can't tell me that something that happens to the body can have residual effects days later and maybe even months later. And even with onset asthma now, I have a year later. You can't go and tell me that something that happened to a whole community of people 158 years ago is not having a lasting effect up to this moment here, because the same issues that you could have back then can affect you today. And it's affecting us right now. And so when we're sitting here trying to rebuild in a place where we weren't liked from the jump, where we were seen as 1/8 human. And guess what? If you just take a look back to the 90s, I'm not even saying the 60s, the 90s. Go back to the 90s. Go back to when you had Nirvana singing, about Teen Spirit. Go back to the time when you had Soundgarden talking about the black hole sun. Go back to the time of Run DMC and Walk This Way. Go back to then. Just that little piece right there. And go back and you will see that there was a point where you couldn't even, there was still segregation. Very minimal. It was not legally segregated. But we let's keep it a buck. If you go to our cities today, some of them are still segregated in some places. This ain't new, right? So if we as a people are having issues with our people about things that has happened to our community, isn't it safe to assume that if we are having these issues, that there will be things that we will have to do to help us to rebuild? Brothers and sisters, I truly believe in my heart that a lot of our issues that we're having in our community, it has been based on the issues from slavery, just like Jason Black has alluded to, just like Professor Black Truth has alluded to, just like Tariq Nasheed has alluded to. These issues have always been there, but hey, guess what? Nobody is acting like they weren't. This gender war ain't nothing but us, the baby step, trying to figure this thing out. And it's been a disunification of our people. And guess what? We have played the massive part in that. And yes, Kevin Samuel may have shot the gun, but I'm going to be honest to you. This is to the Jason Blacks of the world. This is to the Professor Black Truths of the world. This is even to the Tariq Nasheed. That's my guy. I love Tariq Nasheed. But here's the deal. I believe a lot of the issues that we've been having is because we've been name calling and bickering back and forth about these things that really should not be an issue. We have been talking about these things and we have disenfranchised people and we have left them out cold by themselves, sitting there being told that they weren't black enough or that they didn't belong in the community no more because of how they chose to believe. And guess what happens? Every single time you do that, they start feeling bitter. Well, if they don't love me, well, guess who will love me? I guess I have to go back. Look, dude, it's just the same way. If y'all don't like that Bible, but guess what? It happens in the Bible. If you go here in Exodus and you read in the story about Moses, and when they got to the time when they were actually going across the River Jordan and they started to make changes, guess what happened? The people revolted against God. They went and said, well, we are going to make a calf of our own. And God had to show them, like, man, he made them walk around the wilderness for 40 years. But even in that time, they weren't faithful to God. Even in that time, walking around in the wilderness, a whole generation of people had to die off in order for good things to happen. Don't like the Bible, but it talks just like it's the same type of thing going on. You sit there and you tell somebody, well, I don't need you. Guess what they're going to start saying? Well, maybe I could go back to the other people because they seem to like me. Well, I'm not a coon. I love being black. Well, you ain't black because you think like this. Well, you ain't black because you talk like this. I don't know what you look like, but I'm going to keep talking about you, and I'm going to say all these things about you, and I'm going to spread this in the community, and you ain't this, and you ain't that, and you ain't this, and you ain't that, and big mama this, and big mama that. And it just put black people in a place where, okay, if you believe this way, you're not black. That's why Joe Biden can say the words, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. That's why he felt confident to say that. Because he feel he has the gate in front of him that allows him to say it. Because long as I'm willing to talk some black talk, and long as I can say things in a way that sounds like I know what I'm talking about, well, what does that do? That leaves people out. You alienate. Guess what they're going to do? They're going to go to the just pearly things of the world. That's how you get the Kevin Samuels. That's how you get the so-called simps of the world. That's how you get the so-called coons of the world. That's how you get this. That's how this is how the just pearly things can infiltrate a community and make things happen, because the disunity happens from within. It doesn't happen from other people. And look, here's the deal. I believe Jason Black and all these other people have the best intentions. I really do. I don't think that they're doing this because they hate black people. I believe that Jason Black wants to see black people succeed. I believe, Tariq Nasheed, my boy, I love Tariq Nasheed. That's my guy. But I believe he wants to see black people succeed. I really do believe, like, people want to see black people succeed. You know what I mean? I don't think that these gentlemen want things to go badly. And I think even in their name calling and in all those things, they're thinking that if I shame you, that you will feel some type of way. And if I make you feel some type of way, well, then you'll do what I want you to do. Well, guess what? Your shaming tactics ain't working, buddy. You're doing it the same. That's exactly, now here's the deal. You don't like Kevin Samuels, but guess what? He said something true. You got to respect what he said too, because what did he say? Sign language, shame, insult, guilt, and a need to be right. What you doing? Shaming. Now, don't get me wrong. That's shame, insult, and guilt is all under the same umbrella. I don't understand why. I never understood why those three were separate, but fine. Trying to shame somebody, insulting somebody, try to guilt them into doing what you want, and try to goad them into doing what you want to do is no different than what they did back then. You're just a different mental slave, master. You're just a different one. Trying to shame me into saying, yeah. See, this is the thing about shame, people. Just to think about shaming people and try to insult people to do what you want. Sooner or later, they're going to go back to what it is that they want to do, right? They're going to go back to what they feel is best for them. That's what they're going to do, because that's what people do. They go back to what they feel is best for them. Because you can't shame somebody to make them feel something. You can only make them feel some type of way. But that's the thing about feelings. They go away immediately. You have to bring the truth to them. And honestly, you have to include those. You don't like Jesus, but he says something so true. You got to bring up the weeds with the weeds and let him do the separating. You got to bring up the weeds with the weeds. You can't take the one from the other. You can't take the one out and then say, okay, well, these are the bad ones. Yeah, these are the bad ones, and we'll call them out. Because if you will listen to most preachers, most street level preachers, we've been calling out the bad ones for decades. We've been calling out the Joel Osteens and the New Births and all of them a long time ago. The Jamal Bryants of the world. We've been calling them out for decades. There's a lot of preachers that do really good things in this world. Maybe not have all the resources to do everything they want to do. There's a lot of preachers who just have a 9-to-5. It's called bivocational. They have a degree, and that degree has provided for their family. That's how they made their money. It's a lot of preachers that don't get paid. And let's keep this 100% buck. If a lot of these preachers were to go on the salary of the church, they wouldn't even be able to feed themselves. The average church income is about $100,000 a year. Okay? In that $100,000 a year, they have to pay bills to keep the lights on. They have to pay other issues. You got medical expenses, funeral expenses. This ain't the pastors. Funeral expenses, medical expenses, feeding and clothing people throughout the year. Stuff y'all don't even hear about. Save the unsaved. I've had people come to me as a pastor. I've had people come to me and they say to me, Reverend, I need, and guess what? Out of my own pocket. Church don't even have it. Out of my own pocket. Thank God for being bivocational. There's a lot of preachers who are, lots of us are bivocational. Some of us are just struggling. Because guess what? A lot of preachers who be trying to get black people to stay married. Stay in a good relationship. Don't just break up just because y'all feel some type of way. Try to work these things out. Try to have a standard about yourself. Try to live right. Please don't do these things. There's a lot of preachers that have been begging people to get back with their lovers. Stop having these babies out of wedlock. Stop doing these things. Man, preachers been preaching that for decades. Don't go out and get married. Don't go out and marry somebody you ought not marry. But if you get married to that person, just because you're unhappy, still stay together. Because unhappiness does not equate all the time, because you can be unhappy for a short period of time. Feelings are fleeting. Being unhappy is not a good reason to just walk out of your marriage. It's not. It's a terrible reason. Fix it. Figure it out. Work it out if you can. Just being unhappy is not a good enough reason. I can see if, like, okay, y'all having financial issues and it can't get better. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Stay together if you can. If you can't, work it out. Build a business together. I don't know. Do whatever you can. Work together. Don't separate yourselves. Stay true to who you are as a couple. Love that black person that's sitting next to you. Smile at them. On the bus, you see a black person, smile at them. Shake hands with people you don't know. Have that brotherhood, that camaraderie. There's a reason why when I see black people, I don't care who you are, I'll hold the door for you. There's a reason why I do that, because I love my black people. And black people, if you love each other, if you say you love each other, look, hey, say what you want about this Bible, but it's real, dog. It says something so true. If you say you love God, but you hate the brother you see daily, you're a liar. There's no way you can love Christ. There's no way. There's no way to love Christ and you hate your brother that you see daily. Dislike, sure. We all got moments where we don't like each other. Being angry with them, sure, you can be angry with people. That happens. That's life. But hate, if you hate that person, you know you hate them when you can't say hi to them. You know you hate them when you can't say good things about them. See, I don't hate Jason Black. I don't hate Kevin Samuels. I don't hate Lead Attorney. I don't hate Just Pearly Things. I hate what they're representing. All of them. Because a lot of these issues are based on these people who are online. My brothers and sisters, if I could tell you something today, and I'm not telling you to listen to me, because if you ever been on my channel, if you ever been at my channel, You'll know one thing. I would never tell you to listen to me. I would say listen to the truth, because you should know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Follow the truth. Follow the right way. Go figure it out for yourself. You don't believe me? Go read about it. Go study for yourself. Know the truth for yourself, because when you know the truth for yourself, no one can sway you away from it. Right? You want to be leaning on a Jason Black if you know the truth. You won't have to lean on Reverend Glass if you know the truth. You won't have to lean on a Kevin Samuels. Brothers, if you love your community, let me say this. There's good and bad in every community. Every community. There's people you agree with politically. There's people you don't. There's people you agree with religiously. There's people you don't. I don't hate any of those people. And that includes the ones that don't love my God. I don't hate them. I don't want to see nobody perish or go to hell. Period. But I will tell you this. I don't respect anybody who causes division amongst my people, like Just Pearly Things, like Jason Black, and like Kevin Samuels. Have a nice day.